Mm. What a treat for everybody tonight. I don't have a t-shirt on. Oh my gosh. I was going to go meet somebody today, and is a person, a friend that well, actually, I've never met her. I've talked to her on the phone, and we were going to meet, and we are just going to have a cup of tea or something and get to know each other. Um, she's in the same type of business, and so it's just something that we were going to do. We're going to share notes and things like that. I wrote today about things in the news, and I got to tell you, the two things that I wrote about today are completely unrelated in some ways, and I'll say that in some ways. The first thing is about this company that came out. This guy came out with a food substitute, I mean, a meal substitute called Soylent. Now, what made me laugh is that this movie that came out in the 70s was called Soylent Green, and the premise of the whole movie was that in 2021, which is not too far away, 6 years away from us right now, the premise there was that in 2021, the world's oceans were polluted, drinking water was polluted, food sources were everything was shot, and so there wasn't enough food to feed the world, and things were really in bad straits. And I've got to say that there are parts of the world right now where we're seeing things like that. But anyway, this one company came out with these wafers, the green wafers, and they said this is perfect because you can eat these wafers and it's total protein, fat, everything you need. And so people got them and ate them, and they could afford to do it, and the company made money. And toward the end of the movie, there was somebody that did some research, and they saw a bunch of things going on, and what they discovered was is that the wafers were made out of from people, from cadavers, and from people who died, and so they sent them to this factory. And anyway, this guy came out and he created this meal substitute called Soylent. It is about $300 a month, and no, I'm sorry, $300 a week, and it gives you 3 meals a day. You stir up, or you mix up, or shake up, or do up in a blender like enough for 2 or 3 days at a time, and then you just pour yourself out a glass of it, and that's your meal. Now, for a lot of people, it's mostly oat flour and maltodextrin and vitamins and minerals, and some of them have some psyllium in them and things like that. So there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing disgusting about it. But one of the premises of the guy who created the thing was like, do you want to deal with food every day? You can just forget food anymore. You just pour this out. And there's a lot of people, I'm one of them, who appreciates food. But it is a great concept but the thing is, it uses a lot of oat flour. Now, oats are easy to grow, I'll grant you that. But they do take water and they do take land. Certainly way less water and way less land than do cows, particularly, and other sources. Chickens we raise a lot of, but again, we have to be careful there because sometimes they're raised in inhumane situations, and you can get diseases and things. And especially in the past, when we found out that chicken feed included, and this is going to sound like Soylent, it included ground up chickens to feed to the chickens. So, and we've stopped doing that. That pretty much is gone. Anyway, the second thing is driverless cars, and you know that Google was driving around for I think a year and a half in San Francisco with a driverless car. There was nobody in the car; it was robotically done, and there was a driver somewhere, but he only had to guide it where it was going. As far as driving down the road, it had sensors and it had totally computer controlled, so that it knew when to stop. It could sense lights, things like that, and it drove around for a year and a half with no problems. I don't know if I think it was Google, yeah. And so that's another thing. And then the ramifications of that. Well, I thought about that. So many of the towns and municipalities get their income, so much of it, from ticketing people for speeding, for reckless driving, for going through a red light, for all those things. And for DUI particularly, there's so much money in that. I mean, there's DUI schools, there's attorneys, all this stuff. And the insurance companies who insure the cars. Now, if the cars there's no driver in the car, so you can't sue the person who's sitting in it per se. I mean, you can if it's his car. But the cars, well, ostensibly they should operate without accidents, and they should be much safer because there's a computer controlling them, and there's not any room for, let's call it, human error. But anyway, that's another thing to look at. So we went through this huge change which I don't think a lot of people think about. When the computers came to be used as, like, I come from a time when I grew up, when television was just coming into being, then when color television came out, then we had a man that went up to the moon. Then during the 80s, we had computer terminals in our offices. And then we got our own computers like the mid to late 80s. And we were on DOS then. And then we went through. But, you know, when you think about all the changes, when we got computers and everything became computerized, not the old style that had the key punch machines and the punch cards. But when we actually started to automate things, there was a whole level of people in this country and around the world that lost their job, and we'll never get them back. The same thing happened back in the 50s with elevators, 60s. When we automated elevators, there was a whole cadre of people there that ran elevators and that were known, and you know it was the only way you could get the elevator up and down, and to have it stop at floors and do the right thing. So there's always these changes leave a lot of people behind, and it opens up all new worlds too. So I can't say that it just keeps dropping off and we don't replace it, because we do replace it. Something else comes up and we have something else going on that's pretty amazing, and then something else supersedes that. And it's just, if you keep up with things, if you keep up with what's going on in the world, you can pretty much stay with everything. Age doesn't matter. It just depends on if you're interested and if you want to. So anyway, that's what today's is about, and it all comes back to, in the end, doing the best you can, helping people, and keeping yourself current, keeping yourself modern, keeping yourself thinking about things. And that's really the best thing you can do for yourself and for everyone else around you. So anyway, that's my thing for today. Read the blog and comment, please. Get in touch with me however you can, whatever you want to do. I'd love to talk to you, okay? Thanks very much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.